deeper than that one. So welcome back to another video. In today's video I'm going to be installing this, which is a 2 kilowatt diesel heater. It's quite a big upgrade for the van really. It just means in the winter months that I can still use my van and be warm in there, mainly at night really. So my plan is to house it underneath the floor here. So there's like a false floor on this bit, which would be a footwell for if there were seats in the back. So I'm going to cut a hole in the floor here, have a little hinge like door, and that's where it'll sit. The diesel tank that came with it is massive. I'm thinking about getting a smaller one because I don't really know where to put that. So yeah, let's crack on. The first job's going to be to cut this hole here and make sure that it would all fit under there. So let's get on with that. So I've drilled these 2 pilot holes here and here. Then I'm just going to cut along there and along there. And then I will have to cut along there on the metal as well. But I'll do that once I've got the wooden piece out. So I've cut the piece of metal, which is that, out, and obviously the piece of wood on top. So now I've got my little space behind here. So first test to see if it slots in. Oh, look at that, that's not bad. And then that will sink a bit further because obviously there's the fixings on the bottom. Unless I want to mount it the other way and have the vent over this side, possibly. An option, I guess. That's not a bad shout, to be fair. So this is the plate that goes onto the bottom of the diesel heater. Doesn't fit great. What I'm thinking is I'm just going to trim it down slightly. I've seen a couple of other people do that on YouTube. Just trim it there slightly. It doesn't quite fit flush. So if I just trim it down, it will fit a bit flatter. There's 2 ridges here, so I need to put B&Q and then I'm going to get some sealant for the bottom of it. So we just seal it all up. So I'll just cut this down to make it a bit slimmer. And hopefully now that sits in there a lot better. So it avoids those, whatever that is there. There's 2 ridges there, so probably have to put the holes in between and then just make sure I seal. Right, so I'm going to drill the first pilot hole. I've positioned the plate in here underneath the van. I don't know if you can hear the difference. There's another piece of metal underside, so I've got to drill in this bit where I can go straight through. So I'm going to drill this top left pilot hole here, and hopefully it comes through in the right space. I'll show you underneath whereabouts it comes through. So those are the 2 ridges there. Hopefully it'll come through somewhere about there. So I'm just going to use a very small drill bit just for the pilot hole. Maybe this is going to be quite difficult. Through. So I'm just going to take a look underneath the van for the first pilot hole that I've drilled. Scary stuff. There it is, the first little pilot hole. which means we should be sound then. Right, so I think I'm happy with the pilot hole that I've just drilled. I'm going to go ahead, I've drawn on where they need to go, the other holes, so I'm going to go ahead and just drill them now, I think. Hope for the best. There you go, first hole done. Woo! So this is where I'm up to now. I've got this hole, two large holes here. The ones either side are for these. It's ended up just kind of being one larger hole, just to make it a bit easier for it to slide in. I'm just going to get the multi-tool and just make these slightly larger, because this is the bolt that sits on the bottom of the plate, attaching the plate to the heater, and these need to sit underneath. That needs to go all the way through, so it's quite a big hole really. So I've roughly got it in position now. I'll show you what it looks like underneath. It's looking pretty good. I just need to make the holes a little bit wider where the bolts are. So I've got the holes now in place for the extract and the ones that bolt the plate and the fuel line. What I was going to do, my general plan was to pop that in there now and then obviously bolt it to the floor after. However, because I've trimmed the plate because of the slim space, I'm not going to be able to access these bolts very easily from underneath. So what I'm thinking, because I can access these from underneath, I'll take the plate off, mount the plate to the floor, drop it in, and then I can just reattach the heater from underneath to the plate. So that should work all right. So I've drilled these four now in this corner. I'm just gonna give it a little tidy up and then paint as well, because under there, back there's a little bit of rust. So give it a little sand down, a clean up, and paint these bits of exposed metal here, just with like a rust protection paint. Just doing a little test run with these intake and outtake on. I'm really confused. Quick update, so it basically doesn't fit with the pipes on. It snags on here, so I can't properly get it in, and I don't want to do the pipes up from underneath because I won't be able to get the little hoops on. Will I? I've propped the heater in and roughly positioned these two pipes. I'm going to need to sadly do them up from underneath, just because I'm putting the plate in first. I don't think it would be too much of an issue. I need to shorten this straight bit here so that I can get more of a purchase on the bend, so that it doesn't drop down so low, and that will feed back that way, the exhaust, and probably fasten to the inside of the here. And then the intake, I'll just fasten forward there. That'll be fine with the air filter, and just fasten it next to that. So I think that's looking all right. All painted up now inside there. I'll show you back there as well. It's all been painted. So I've just loosely bolted that in. I had to buy some new bolts that were just a bit longer. I'll show you what it looks like underneath. That's what it looks like. I will be putting some washers on as well. But I'm just going to drop the heater in now, and then drill a hole for the fuel line and just roughly attach the exhaust and intake. I'm at a stage now where I'm happy where I've positioned everything, positioned the hoses underneath, where the fuel line's going to go. I'm just going to drill a hole for the fuel line, put some spacers on, and then I'll be putting the silicone on for the plate to fasten the plate to the floor of the van. So I've put the plate in place now with some silicone underneath. I'm just going to go under the van and put the bolts on, the nuts on from underneath, these little guys, and just tighten up that plate, and then I'll do a final seal around the edge. So before I bolt it into place, the heater into the floor, what I'm going to do is just position this duct, so that's roughly where it'll be when it's underneath. So to get enough bend, the duct's just going to sit right in this corner here. So I'm just looking back editing this now, and there's not loads of footage of me cutting the hole for the vent to come up. That's because it just took ages to cut through. When I initially did the cut, I realised that there were 3 sheets of metal underneath rather than 1, which meant it took so much longer. So I wouldn't recommend positioning the vent here. So I've cut the hole for the vent. I'm just going to sit on there like that. We'll be dropping it down obviously so it's flush, and then just cutting a little bit out of the floor so I can fit the Jubilee clip on. The vent obviously comes underneath here, so I'll just be trimming that. Just need to tidy it up, give it a hoover, and then I'm ready to put in the heater into place. So that's just notched out so that this Jubilee clip sits in there, and then that can go on, and that goes on there, and it all sits flush. Screw it into the floor, and that'll be the outlet. So this is where the fuel tank for the diesel heater is going to sit, under the front seat. I'm just creating a little 2 battens across, which is how I'll secure the tank in. Probably put like a ratchet strap over once it's secured. So I've notched out this bit of wood here, and then it's just gonna, I'll slide it down, I'm just gonna screw that into the metal there. That should keep it nice and secure. So I've secured this one in place, place this one like that, and then just screw into there. So I'm now going to position this pump and the fuel filter underneath here, and attach the fuel lines up to the tank before I secure the tank in, and just make sure I'm happy with it all. And then after that I'll do the electrics. Okay, so I've got the fuel line in place now. Comes out the tank, into the filter, into the pump, which is at a slight angle, and then it drops down, and then back up into the heater. So I'm just going to hook up the electrics now, and then we'll do a little test run. Okay, I'm going to start it up for the first time. So it said, I had to look online, press those 2, and then on. So you can hear it clicking now. Pump. Oh, I can see a bit of diesel going through, I think. So it's just priming now. Once it's all primed through the fuel line, I'll start it up. I think it started to work, but it's really loud. I don't really know. It feels a bit warm in that. Oh, it's died. So apart from tidying away the electric stuff, the only other change I want to make is the exhaust. I want to just point it downwards slightly because it's going back onto that bracket there. And over time I think that could be a little bit of an issue. So what I'm going to do is maybe fasten it to the outside of the van. So with this exhaust manifold, I just want to get it to point down a little bit. So this is the original piece that I cut out. I'm going to just create a little hinge door here, which will just flip up like so. So I've scraped all the glue off this piece of laminate that I had to take out just under the screws. I just need to stick it back on. It's got a bit of a crease in it, but I'm not too fussed. So the diesel heater is pretty much done now. I've put the little door on here. There's a little latch and that just flicks up to get in there. The last couple of jobs to refit this. So that's just going to go back on there. And then I just need to mark it. And then cut that and screw it back on. So this pretty much completes the diesel heater install. So there's the little flap there with the bits of edging on done. Put a little bit of vinyl on the little latch as well. So that's it done. I've also bent the exhaust downwards. I'd say it's quite a difficult install, to be honest, because the main concern is the internal combustion which is going on in there. You just want to get that right with the fuel delivery and the exhaust. So it is quite hard. It's quite loud when it's up and running. So I installed this diesel heater back at the start of March, which I had in mind for this trip to Europe because I knew it was going to, I'm in the Alps currently, so I knew it was going to be getting a bit colder at night, and I wanted to have that heater just as a kind of backup to keep me warm. So it currently gets down to about 5 degrees at night, I think. In the day it's about 15 degrees, sometimes 18. So to give you an idea of temperature, it comfortably gets the van up to within an hour. So it's 14 degrees in here now, gets the van up to about 25 degrees within about an hour, which is brilliant. The only downside to it is the noise. It is really noisy, which is okay when I'm on a campsite because I don't really want to be in the van when it's alright being in the van. I've done it a couple of times. I've used it for like the past 5 days, but just that noise, it's really rattly. I think there might be something wrong with it. I've looked a little bit on YouTube, but I'll have to, when I get back home, have a proper look into it and take it apart. But overall, I'm really pleased with it because of the heat it puts out over an hour's time. Obviously, it's heating a small space, heats up nice and fast, and it also uses hardly any diesel. And I haven't noticed it using a ridiculous amount of electric, so on that front it's brilliant on consumption wise. So yeah, like I said, just the noise. I'm about to start it up now. I'll show you how noisy it is when you start it up. Right, so it makes the initial rattly noise. And then the pump will kick in at some point. Okay, so the pumps have started to kick in, so it should ignite inside the heater in a second.
Very loud.